What's up, Eagles fans? Welcome into the All-22 review driven by AAA. I'm Fran Duffy, joined by NFL Film senior producer Greg Cosell. The Eagles come away with a huge win at home against the New York Giants, 25-22, a late come-from-behind victory for your Philadelphia Eagles, and we've got a lot to break down here in what was really a game full of highlights on both sides of the football. We'll start here on the drive that got the Eagles on the board early in the second quarter. Well, Greg, let's start things off here with this long run from Clement in the second quarter. The Eagles unable to reach the end zone here in the first two drives in the first quarter, but this run here by Clement really helps set things up for a Jake Elliott field goal here midway through the second quarter.
Yeah, and I think we probably want to point out three key blocks here. Obviously, it's the shotgun with Clement, the offset back, but there's really three key blocks. And we're going to start sort of at the point of attack, and that's Brandon Brooks, who's going to block down on the one technique defensive tackle. That's critical. That block allows Kelsey, the center, Jason Kelsey, to work up to the second level to get Landon Collins. So this is a nice combination that takes care of the point of attack right there. And the other part of this now is Jason Peters will pull around, because this is what we call a gap scheme run, and he will pull and he will get essentially the play side stack backer over here, Alec Ogletree. So it's these three blocks that are absolutely critical. They're the reason that this play worked, and we can clear it and start it, and you can see exactly how this works. And you can see the hole right here. Look how those blocks do that. You see the hole that's created. It's beautifully designed. I really like the blocking scheme, and it's executed really, really well as Clement now has all that space as we continue the run, and he just goes for the 32-yard run. And I believe that was the Eagles' longest run of the season up to this point.
It was the longest run of the season. It would have been the second longest run had that Josh Adams touchdown run not come back for a penalty on the opening drive, kind of a ticky-tack penalty there to start the game off. But the Eagles get into scoring range here. Jake Elliott follows this up with a 42-yard field goal, makes the score 12-3 there midway through the second quarter. So the Eagles are now down 19-3, and you're going to see them get the ball here. They're going to cross midfield, and now the tight ends are going to really get involved here, Greg. And you're going to see this culminate in a touchdown to Zach Ertz. But before we get to that play, let's look at this long catch by Dallas Goedert, the rookie tight end, who's been more of a factor here today than he has been over the course of the last couple of weeks. And this really is all going to start with a really interesting motion that we've seen around the NFL over the course of the last few weeks. And this is going to be a motion with Golden Tate. He's going to start in the slot, do a little motion into the backfield, and then come out immediately almost on a bubble screen action. And earlier in the game, they actually threw this ball to Golden Tate. It went for a tackle for loss, I believe.
It was incomplete.
Yeah, okay, so it was an incomplete pass, and they threw it short. So this time, they're not going to throw it to Tate. I want you to show us now what they're really going to try and set up here.
Well, what they're trying to set up here is the misdirection screen. And you see, just as you showed, and you see right here, if you freeze it, look, it looks as if they're going to throw that little bubble screen to Golden Tate with blockers out in front. That's what the play looks like right now. But this play has a misdirection, deception element to it. What you're trying to do is you're trying to force the defense to move in the direction of this. So if you look at the two stacked linebackers here, they're starting to move toward Golden Tate because they see this as a screen to Tate. But what ultimately this is going to be is a screen to the other side of the field to Dallas Goedert, and you're going to get three offensive linemen working out front. So it's beautifully set up. We're seeing this, as you said, Fran, throughout the NFL so much now. Misdirection elements, motion and shifting before the snap of the ball. But we can run this now, and you'll see exactly what happens. You get the screen now to Goedert, and he has blockers out in front, and this turns out to be a nice gain, which obviously set up the Eagles closer for the upcoming touchdown to Zach Ertz.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see that play here next, but really it all started with that Golden Tate motion.
Yep.
They get the ball out to Dallas Goedert in space, and he gets off a big play. All right, so let's take a look now at this second quarter touchdown from Carson Wentz to Zach Ertz. And there's a really interesting wrinkle to this play, Greg, where you almost tip your cap to the Giants, where they show one thing, actually give the Eagles another, and Carson Wentz has to respond.
No, you're exactly right, because what happens here, where do we have Golden Tate here? He's in the slot to the top now. Now what the Eagles are going to do is this is an indicator motion. He's going to work across the formation, and you normally do this, particularly in the red zone or in the high red zone. You do this as an indicator for man or zone. But what happens here is the corner that's over him is going to run across with him, which normally says man coverage. So let's see that now. What's going to happen is you see Tate go across, you see the corner go with him. This looks like man all the way. So now as we start the play, and that's exactly what Carson Wentz sees. So right here, he thinks he has a man route, but Janoris Jenkins, what happens? He was on Alshon Jeffrey. He drops back. So that tells Carson Wentz right away, it's not man, it's zone. So the man beater concept, which is smash with the underneath route and kind of the little corner route behind it, which is meant to attack man, that is now gone because it's zone. So what does Wentz have to do? He has to come back to the other side. And what does this end up becoming? Cover 2, Tampa 2 with a middle hole defender. So now Carson works back to the other side, the zone side, and he's going to get Wentz. He's going to get Ertz, who's going to sit down right in a void in the zone between the outside corner and the underneath defender here, Alec Ogletree. This is really well done, and we can play it out now and see how it goes.
Yeah, just a great job by Carson Wentz reacting to what the defense showed. Pre-snap, he went to his initial key, saw it was taken away, and got to the other side of the field.
Really well done. Really well done.
Yeah, an example of what we got to see from this Eagles offense in the red zone a year ago. Just haven't seen it consistently here in 2018, but a good example there of them getting on the board. They make it within one score after this 2-point conversion. So after the touchdown to Ertz, the Eagles decide to go for 2, and they're going to call a little speed option play that we don't really see too often in NFL. You do see it from time to time. And really what a speed option is, Greg, is you're going to have your quarterback and your running back, as you know, and you're going to read off of the pitch key, that one defender that quarterback is going to read off of. He's going to be left unblocked. Show us what you're seeing here.
Yeah, and this is a really nice play because also it's a play, as you said, the critical part is you don't see it often, so you're showing the defense something in this situation that they're not really ready to defend. Now, actually, you could say the Giants do defend it the way you're supposed to because what's going to happen here, and we can lose Kareem Martin, as you said, he's the defender that they're going to pitch off of, but let's run it a little bit here, and you're going to see Carson Wentz take the snap here as we start it. He works down the line of scrimmage, boom, right here. Because Kareem Martin is basically getting ready, he's playing Carson Wentz. So now Wentz knows right now with Martin right in front of him that he's going to pitch the ball. Now if Martin had immediately jumped outside, then what would have happened is Wentz would have just gone into the end zone himself. But you're pitching off that defender, Kareem Martin. It's an option play, so there's an option for Wentz to run or to pitch. This was beautifully designed. Let's finish the play out. Pitches it to Clement. And it's basically an easy 2-point conversion to make it 19-11.
Yep, so a huge play there. Gets the Eagles on the board from Zach Ertz. They finish it up with a 2-point conversion to Corey Clement. So after the touchdown to Zach Ertz, the 2-point conversion by Corey Clement, the Giants get the ball. Nice kick return. They get it into almost Eagles territory, and they start driving the ball just before the start of just before halftime. And now the Eagles come up with a huge defensive stop. Let's take a look at the turnover by Malcolm Jenkins, the interception just shy of the end zone. Greg, tell us what we're seeing here on this play.
Well, this was really big, Fran, because they're in field goal range. And a field goal is a big deal right here because the Eagles we're not getting a lot of possessions, and every possession becomes important, so they need to stop the Giants from putting any points on the board. So what is happening here is the Eagles are going to play what we call Tampa 2. It's cover 2, 2 deep safeties, and on this particular play, the middle hole defender will be safety Malcolm Jenkins. That's what Tampa 2 is. He's sort of the middle hole defender. He reacts to the routes, but he can drop deep as he needs to. All right, what the Giants are going to run here is what we call a scissors concept. They're going to have Odell Beckham on the outside, and he's going to break in, and Benny Fowler in the slot, and he's going to break out. It's a scissors concept. And what happens here is Eli Manning ultimately is going to look for Odell Beckham kind of running the post. It's the post off the scissors concept. So let's clear it and let's start this now. So keep your eye at the top of the screen and on Malcolm Jenkins. And as Eli moves right here, if you freeze it, just before he throws the ball, you see this mapped out beautifully. The Eagles doing the right thing, playing with great depth, and there's Malcolm Jenkins right in the middle, the Tampa 2 middle hole defender, and there's Beckham running to the post. Really well done. The Eagles are in perfect position to play this. A ball Eli probably should not have thrown, but if we play this out, we can see that Malcolm Jenkins is in perfect position. It's actually an easy interception. Very good defense in that situation, and took points off the board probably for the Giants. Critical.
Yeah, huge play there that keeps the Eagles within one score going into halftime. Well, let's fast forward now to the very end of the game. The game is tied now at 22. Fourth and a couple yards here. Critical play for the Eagles offense. They come through with a big completion from Carson Wentz to Nelson Aguilar. We see it on one of the go-to plays for this Eagles offense over the last couple of years, the mesh play. Yeah. Greg, break it down for us.
Well, the reason it's such a good play call is because it has a man-beater element to it and a zone-beater element to it. And because this is fourth, and I think it was about 2 or 3, was it not?
Yep.
So you're anticipating man. More teams than not, Fran, will play man in this situation. So you have the mesh element, and the mesh is for the mirrored crossing routes. And here it's Golden Tate from the left side of the formation and Zach Ertz from the right side. Now, the reason you run this, obviously, if it's man, is you get the defenders maybe running into one another or having to work through a lot of traffic there. That's the man-beater element. But the other part of this, in case it's zone, is you have Nelson Aguilar here. And what he does is he runs what we kind of call a sit route right behind it. And that would be open in a void in the zone if it's zone. So it has the man beater and zone beater element to it. It's really a beautiful design play. A lot of teams run it in the NFL. This is a perfect time for it. So let's run it now. And we'll freeze it one more time. And right about here. This is perfect. You can see it's not man-to-man. Nobody is running with Tate. Nobody is running with Ertz. So it's not man-to-man. And Carson Wentz sees that. So now what you have is you have an open void in the middle between the two zone defenders. It's now zone coverage. So now you have Aguilar, who does a great job of settling, throttling down right in that void. That's the zone part of this, and this is beautifully done. So now what we can do is run the play, and you see Wentz, beautiful job. Hits Aguilar right in the void. That's you can't draw it up any better than that.
Yeah, no question. So the Eagles come out, they execute in a key situation for what seems like it's been a while since we've seen that in a key situation late in the game. They go down to kick the game-winning field goal. Jake Elliott just over 40 yards. Just an outstanding way to end this game, a game which they trailed very early, and then they were able to bounce back. You see the way that this team was able to come back. I think that was a good sign moving forward to the rest of the season.
If I recall, I don't believe they turned it over on offense in this game.
No, I don't think they did.
No, and I think that's a critical piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the Eagles now go into next Monday's game against the Washington Redskins, just one game out of first place. The Dallas Cowboys do play on Thursday Night Football this week. We've got a ton to break down over the course of the next few days. So for the rest on this game here, this win against the New York Giants, you can join Greg and I on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast. That'll drop Monday night if you subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or wherever podcasts can be found. Until then, we'll see you next time here on the All-22 Review, driven by AAA.